What we definitely know is that Joe Biden has put out a recent statement and is speaking up to a certain extent. This per The Guardian. Joe Biden has warned of new attacks on civil rights as the Supreme Court prepares to strike down the right to abortion, telling reporters at the White House that LGBTQ plus children could be the next targets of a Trump-dominated Republican Party. He called this MAGA crowd and the most extreme political organization in recent American history. What happens, the president asked, if a state changes the law saying that children who are LGBTQ can't be in classrooms with other children? Is that legit under the way the decision is written? There are so many questions here posed and so many fears out there, and rightfully so. But hey, it's Joe Biden. He is the leader of the free world. He's got a lot of power. So I would like to definitely tee it up to you, Ben, first. What has Biden really done to protect LGBTQ youth, and what can he do? Because is it enough?
This is where it gets really terrifying, to be entirely honest, because today they just announced a new stamp honoring who of all people? Of course, Nancy Reagan, somebody who actively celebrated the deaths of queer folks during the AIDS epidemic. And that reality is just absolutely terrifying because they know what day it is. It's not like they don't know what day it is. And they're celebrating somebody who literally celebrated the death of countless queer folks. And so that really doesn't speak to them being willing to fundamentally do much. Because the reality is, if there's something Joe Biden wants to do, I get it, he can't pass legislation. But you know what? I know a lot of queer folks on the internet receive violent threats on a regular basis, every single day. And I also know that not only do the platforms that those threats come on not do anything about those threats, the reality is that law enforcement institutions also don't do anything about these threats. And this is where ultimately the transphobia, the queerphobia that exists throughout the country intersects with other things. Because, for example, the recent school shooter that shot all of those kids in that school had previously sent threats to people on social media platforms. So Joe Biden has the power of the Department of Justice. He could order them to, instead of focusing on nonviolent drug crimes, maybe focus on the huge wave of threats that exists across the internet right now. And maybe that might actually do something not only to stop violence against queer people, but also violence in general, especially with really horrific events like what we saw last week.
Yes, and Rayyvana, what are your thoughts in terms of what Biden's done and what he can do, because it just may not be enough?
Yeah, I think it's completely heinous of Joe Biden to say that attacks on queer children might be next. Yeah, no, duh, Joe, it's already happening. It's here now. It's been happening. States have been passing legislation that say that doctors can't provide gender affirming care to trans children. They've been passing legislation to prevent trans girls from participating in women's sports at their schools. There's been a disgusting onslaught of anti-LGBTQ legislation, including the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, and then copycat bills, so to speak, in other Republican-run states. I think one thing that the Biden administration really should do is start prosecuting anti-LGBTQ hate crimes. The amount of hate crimes that are investigated or reported versus what is actually prosecuted by the federal government is abysmally low. And so instead of just sort of putting out fluffy statements while simultaneously praising Nancy Reagan, what they could do is actually show the LGBTQ community that they care about us, that they give a damn about us, and that they're actually working to keep us safe.
Now, that would be something he could definitely do, because it seems like oftentimes he's acting like his hands are tied behind his back, despite his position and all the power he does have, especially executive orders. And the last administration I saw, they didn't necessarily let the law stop them. So hey, it's like when you see these incredible threats to communities in our society, it's like, why not go ahead and step out into that space and do what's necessary? But I don't necessarily know that Joe Biden has the gumption to step out in terms of protecting and uplifting the queer community.